because in this hour we've got something really, really special for you. I'm going to hand it over to Simon Owen because he knows all about this, and I actually noticed when I was coming up on the lift, Steve Vizard wandering around. So what's he doing?
He is here, and I've never seen him in a moo-moo before, so it's an unusual... A moo-moo.
Moo-moo.
It's an unusual choice of clothing, but if Steve's happy with it, so be it.
That's his Friday night gear, you know.
Well, it is. It's time to kick back and unwind. Now, Steve has done a lovely thing for us, and people may have heard the promo. Steve has organised an interview with Woody Allen.
Oh, well, really?
Yes.
The famous film director who married his own daughter.
Well, yes. I wonder if that will... I wonder if we'll raise that in conversation.
Steve, he's looking through... Are you going to ask that hard question, Steve? You know, about him marrying his daughter, Sue Lynn, or whatever her name was? He's shrugging. What does that mean?
Yeah, he's not sure. I think he'll see how it goes. He'll just play it by ear.
Okay.
Do you want to come in and... No, he doesn't want to come in.
He doesn't want to come in. Yeah, okay. Did you watch Oprah Winfrey interviewing Lance Armstrong? Yeah, you did? What did you think of that? So is this going to be a similar interview? You've got 125 questions you're going to ask Woody?
And are they yes-nos?
He's nodding, and then he's shaking his head. I mean, what does that mean?
Again, he's just going to play it by ear.
All right.
Do we join in with him, or
well, I think so. We might just sit on the sidelines and, you know...
Well, yeah, we'll take the back seat. He organised it. It's only right to let him do the bulk of the interview. But
now, when are we...
so, if Steve's going to come, well, he's here now, so we'll do it out of the break.
Out of the break, all right. So, you would like to come in, Steve, and just take a seat? You would, okay, all right. Now, while Steve's coming into the studio, Steve Vizard, of course, he's doing this out of the pure love of the industry, of course. That's right. Because he's not being paid tonight.
His stint finished last week, filling in for Dennis, and he's come in out of the goodness of his own heart.
Exactly, all right. So while Steve is making his way in, we'll have a break. It's 12 minutes past 8. Vizard's walked into the studio.
And I must apologise because I did say he was wearing a moo-moo. Turns out it's a caftan. I wasn't aware there's a difference, and I apologise.
Well, he and Kamal go back a long way, of course. Yes, all right. Now, Steve... well, I'll let you ask the question.
Well, I just think it's fabulous that you've organised this interview with Woody Allen.
Yeah, and deigned to put it in Nightline too. We are very honoured.
Very kind, very kind indeed. Yeah. So I just have to ask, when did you meet Woody Allen?
I first met him in the summer of '77. A phrase which sounds ominously like the prologue to one of his movies, and which, in any event, is not exactly accurate. In fact, I first met him through his movies in the summer of '77. It was a film festival at the university showcasing the works of a smart and hip and up-and-coming New York comic with the beguiling name Woody Allen. Over 3 successive nights that summer, the boys and I crammed into the sweltering theatre. At first inquisitive, and then captivated, and then simply lulled by the diversity and intensity of Woody Allen's comedic creativity, the zaniness of Take the Money and Run and Bananas, the literal physical Chaplinesque humour of Sleeper and Love and Death, the nostalgia of Play It Again Sam, and then the reinvigoration of the romantic comedy with the beautiful Annie Hall, Woody Allen's first commercial triumph, winning him 4 Academy Awards, set against the backdrop of his beloved New York, recounting the romance between Diane Keaton's ditzy Annie Hall and Woody Allen's neurotic Alvy Singer as they search for love and the meaning of life.
I love what you're wearing.
Oh, you do? Yeah? Oh, well, it's, this tie's a present from Grammy Hall.
Who? Grammy Hall?
Yeah, my Grammy.
What are you kidding? Did you grow up in a Norman Rockwell painting?
Where other movie makers seem to while and mull and cobble together perhaps an occasional movie once or twice a decade, Woody Allen was running, churning out scripts and ideas and new movies like pretzels in a New York cafe, Interiors, an homage to Ingmar Bergman, Stardust Memories to Fellini, Hannah and Her Sisters, New York Stories with Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, the brilliantly funny Broadway Danny Rose, and the ultimate homage, this time to his beloved hometown, the towering Manhattan.
Chapter 1. He adored New York City. He idolized it all out of proportion. He romanticized it all out of proportion. To him, no matter what the season was, this was still a town that existed in black and white and pulsated to the great tunes of George Gershwin. Let me start this over. Chapter 1. He was too romantic about Manhattan, as he was about everything else. He thrived on the hustle-bustle of the crowds and the traffic. To him, New York meant beautiful women and street-smart guys who seemed to know all the angles. Too corny for my taste.
His romantic liaisons are well documented, most famously with Diane Keaton and Mia Farrow, and I guess most infamously with Farrow's adopted daughter, Sun Yi Previn, who at 19, when Alan was 56, formed a relationship which lasts to this day. A lover of jazz, Woody Allen plays the clarinet with his New Orleans Jazz Band in New York's Carlisle Hotel every Monday night, as he has done for years. Nominated 23 times for Academy Awards, 15 as a screenwriter, 7 as a director, once as an actor, Woody Allen has consistently refused to attend the Oscars. To many, Woody Allen is the voice of our generation, but that would in fact be wrong. His films have spanned too many generations, and his voice is uniquely his own. His film, You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger, opens in Australia. Again set in London, with a stellar cast: Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins, Naomi Watts, Frida Pinto. It gives me great pleasure to say, welcome, Woody Allen.
Thanks very much.
You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger is a fortune teller's mantra. From an early age, the idea of magic and sleight of hand and illusion have been important to you. What is it about that that's important to you?
I don't really know. It's got some connection, I guess, with religion and with questioning the world and human existence and the phenomenon of everything that goes on in the universe, and I think they're all tied up in one fascinating ball, and when you're a young kid, that often expresses itself in this fascination with magic, and with many people, they're content to just be fascinated their whole lives enjoying magicians and enjoying magic shows, and there are some people that set out to try and do the tricks, and I was one of the ones that was taken with the idea of actually performing as a magician when I was a young boy.
Some might say that the art of filmmaking is the ultimate trick, and in a way magic is about escape, but it's also about deception. Do you get the idea that movies are about escape, but equally they're about deception in a way?
Well, movie making is very much like it. You are creating an illusion for people. You are taking actors who are not really those characters, and sets and props, and you're creating the illusion of an hour and a half or a 2-hour story that takes place that is not really an actual happening, and so it does have that same kind of quality of producing for a group of spectators an illusory experience.
I don't know what to do, Rabbi. Every night he listens to the radio. I can't keep him away. I say go to the beach, play in the sun, get some fresh air. No. The Lone Ranger, the Shadow, the Masked Avenger.
This is not good. This boy needs discipline. Radio. It's all right once in a while. Otherwise, it tends to induce bad values, false dreams, lazy habits. Listening to the radio, these stories of foolishness and violence, this is no way for a boy to grow up.
You speak the truth, my faithful Indian companion.
Rabbi, you say my faithful Indian companion?
Hey, don't hit my son.
What kind of upbringing is this?
Look, I'll hit him, but you don't hit him.
I know better how to teach my children.
I'll hit him. Leave him alone.
No, I'll hit him because you are too lenient.
Of course, the ultimate tall, dark stranger is death itself. Only this week, you wrote in the New York Times, I do sometimes have the intimation we may be part of something larger, like a Ponzi scheme. Are you really feeling that?
Well, I think everybody feels at some point in their life, at certain points in their lives, you get a little intimation that there conceivably could be more to than what you see. than what you experience and see. That there seems it's some feeling you get. It's nothing you actually see visually or hear or experience. You get some kind of a ineffable feeling that there's something to the universe, but that feeling passes, and you return to reality usually very quickly. It's just an odd little feeling that many people do experience, maybe watching a sunset or taking a walk or watching a rainy day or something. You get a certain strange feeling, but it's and it's a positive feeling as well. It's a feeling that there's more to existence or the universe in a positive way, but it's an illusory feeling because when your mind gets back to normal, you realize that that's not the case, undoubtedly.
You, in the incarnation of Alvy Singer, famously observed to Annie Hall, a relationship is like a shark. It has to constantly move forward or it dies, and I think what we've got on our hands is a dead shark. Is constantly moving forward how you distract yourself from, I guess, the inevitability of an end?
Yes, I like to work, and I like to work not for the money. I don't like to work for accolades or reviews or spectators, delighting spectators, because I never see my movies. And I like to work for the pure work itself, to do the work. And when I do the work for let's say, the better part of a year it takes to make a film for me, I'm very engrossed in it, and it leaves no time to brood, no time to face up to unanswerable questions about the human condition, or questions that are inevitably unanswerable and anxiety-provoking. And so, for me, work is therapy, and I like to work, and it's a very good distraction for me.
Because I'm obsessed with death. I think it's a big subject with me. Yeah, I have a very pessimistic view of life. You should know this about me if we're going to go out. I feel that life is divided up into the horrible and the miserable. Those are the two categories. The horrible would be like terminal cases, and blind people, crippled. I don't know how they get through life. It's amazing to me, and the miserable is everyone else. That's so when you go through life, you should be thankful that you're miserable, because you're very lucky to be miserable.
You always seem to have been drawn to beautiful and complex personalities in your life, and we've read about your romantic relationships, the obvious ones, Mia Farrow, Diane Keaton, and on, but no personality is more complex or more romantic or more compelling than the cities, New York, Barcelona, Paris, and in this film, London. Tell me about the power of cities.
Well, cities, to me, are the highest achievement of the populations. I mean, you go to a city like Paris, for example, just to name one, and it really, you look around, and it's sort of was at one point, and it's still incredibly beautiful, but it was at one point probably the highest achievement of the human race in terms of, beauty and sophistication and culture and art and fashions and food and just a tremendous achievement of high human aspiration and high human achievement in creativity and cities have that quality. They're made up of certain kind of architecture, street plans, many human beings of all occupations and stripes get together in proximity and walk the streets and eat together in restaurants and share the same experiences in theater and you know, it's a great thing. Whereas if you live isolated out in the country, you've chosen a different kind of life, and your value is different. You like something else, which for that person is fine. I mean, they want to be isolated from the hustle and bustle and from too many people, and they want the peace in the morning, and they want the sunsets in the evening and the animals and the quiet, and that's what gives them a thrill. Not me. I feel the other way. I like to walk down the street and look at people and look in store windows and sit in restaurants and be able to know that at 1 o'clock in the morning, if I want to leave my apartment, I can go someplace and get an egg foo young or go see people, and they're out there, and it's alive 24 hours and active, and that suits me better.
I am Juan Antonio, and you are?
Christina, and this is my friend Vicky.
I'd like to invite you both to spend the weekend. We'll eat well, we'll drink good wine, we'll make love.
Who exactly is going to make love?
Hopefully the three of us.
This guy, he doesn't beat around the bush. Look, senor, maybe in a different life.
Steve Vizard talking to Woody Allen. We're going to take a break. Back with more of Woody Allen after this.
All right, if you wouldn't mind holding on there, Woody. That
Good idea, Steve.
Yes, Steve's going to take a break as well, and so are we. It's 29 minutes to 9. You're listening to Steve Vizard interviewing Woody Allen. Steve, Woody's a big tennis fan.
Yeah, very much so. And he'd be very excited about the win.
Yes, of course he would be. So, all right. Now we might get back to Steve and Woody having a chat.
But, just before we get... sorry, Steve, to take up so much of your time. Just before we do, I wouldn't mind hearing just another grab from a Woody Allen movie.
What a good idea. There's an old joke. Two elderly women are at a Catskill Mountain resort, and one of them says, "Boy, the food at this place is really terrible." The other one says, "Yeah, I know, and such small portions." Well, that's essentially how I feel about life. Full of loneliness and misery and suffering and unhappiness, and it's all over much too quickly.
Steve Vizard talking to Woody Allen. You talk about walking through the city. It strikes me, never having met you in my life, as an observer, that ritual and habit seem quite important to you. We know that you work with many of the same people, that you ate at Elaine's for years, that you played the clarinet at the Carlisle every Monday night. Is there a power in ritual and in habit?
I am a creature of habit. I feel when you eat at a restaurant, if the food is good and everything works, I tend to go back there all the time. I like to go for a walk every day. I like to do my treadmill, my exercises every day. I like to work and practice my horn. I do like to work in a structured way, and I enjoy the habit, and I feel, for me, I can get a lot done that way instead of a more disorganized regimen.
You talk about practicing your instrument. As a man who in his films has raided and I guess elevated the great American Songbook, what song do you sing in the shower?
I sing everything in the shower. I sing, all the old great Cole Porter and George Gershwin songs, and I'm one of the few people that sounds terrible when I'm not in the shower, and terrible when I am in the shower.
There are a couple of songs that you play in your car that are your preferred songs. I mean, if you had to have 2 or 3 songs on a track in your car, what are they?
Well, my own personal favorites, they'd probably be Cole Porter tunes, because I grew up with them, and they've remained for me the most beautiful, both musically and lyrically, of the pop songs. I like classical music a lot. I like the American Songbook, Gershwin, Porter, Berlin, Kern, Rodgers and Hart, Werner and Lowe. I like that very much. I like jazz of all kinds, but mostly authentic New Orleans jazz is my favorite. Though I've enjoyed enormously modern jazz, from Charlie Parker, and Bud Powell and Monk through, Coltrane and Ornette Coleman, and I've been a big jazz enthusiast. My favorite kind of jazz is New Orleans jazz. That's the kind that I try and play, and I remain a truly dreadful musician who is tolerated because they've seen my movies, and they come because they've enjoyed a movie or two, and so they cut me a huge amount of slack. But I have no illusions about the way I play. I'm clearly like a weekend tennis player who gets in there and tries his best, but is tolerated because of other reasons.
Have you got a bucket list, a list of things you want to do?
There are some movies, I do have some ideas for movies that I would like to do, and, if my health holds out, I would love to, write for the theater and continue to write prose a little bit. I enjoy working. Working makes me feel, it keeps me from feeling bad.
In this film, you will meet a tall, dark stranger. You work with Anthony Hopkins. You're known as an actor's director. How do you approach someone you've not worked with before, like an Anthony Hopkins? In fact, let's talk about Anthony Hopkins. How did you approach working with, in this case, Anthony Hopkins?
Well, one hopes that with an actor like Anthony Hopkins, you can just hire him and get out of the way, because after all, the guy's been a magnificent actor for years and years and years before he ever came to my movie, and he'll be a magnificent actor after. I just don't want to ruin him. I don't want to get in his way and mess up that thing that he does, that his talent and what he's learned to do over the years. I don't want to get in the way of that and obstruct it. So what I do is I'm just very nice to him and say yes, and try and keep out of his way and let him do his thing. If he does something that I notice that's egregiously wrong, which, so rarely happens with actors of that level, I'll go in and say, is it possible to try that scene a little faster or a little angrier or a little something? But, as I say, with actors like, Billy Watts or Hopkins or, I don't really have to talk to them.
And then, one day, after months of loneliness and awkward experiences, he took his daughter for a walk and made a startling announcement.
I've met a woman, I'm very much in love, I'm going to get married. Isn't that fabulous?
You're kidding.
No? You seem shocked.
Is that what this walk's about?
Mm-hmm.
So private and mysterious.
Well, I told your mother, and, she was surprised, but she took it well. Apparently this woman she's been seeing who gives her guidance about her future, it's given her a lot of strength emotionally. Anyway, I'd like you to help choose some perfume with me. Do you do that?
So, who is this woman you're going to marry?
Her name is Charmaine.
She's an actress, half his age.
So many of your films, Midnight in Paris, I guess, is the most recent example, are directly about nostalgia. We were talking about illusion before and sleight of hand. There's a great sleight of hand in nostalgia, isn't there? The past is never exactly how we remember it. Do you find yourself falsely romanticizing your past?
Yes, it's a trap that we all fall into, and Camus writes about it. It's really a seductive trap, and I fall into it as much as anybody, maybe more than many people. It's hard not to get seduced by nostalgia, and one must try and resist the temptation to wallow in the kind of gauzy, nostalgic past where you're under the mistaken illusion that things were better when in fact they just as often were worse.
Where'd Gil run off to?
Been walking around Paris.
Where do you think Gil goes every night?
He walks and gets ideas.
Why are you so dressed up?
I was just doing a little writing.
You dress up and put on cologne to write?
Because you know how I think better in the shower and I get the positive ions going in there? I had a private detective follow me.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. The detective agency says the detective is missing.
The role of the artist in many ways is to give us hope. So many of your films have given us great hope. But if indeed that's the case, a film like, I guess, Flying Down to Rio or Top Hat is as worthy as Fellini's 8.5 or The Bicycle Thief. If it's to give us a glimpse of hope, they're all equally valid in that way, aren't they?
I think so. I think that if you're doing, obviously, a Flying Down to Rio or something like that, you know, it's a great, refreshing drink that you can offer up to somebody. You know, they go through their miserable lives, and all our lives are miserable, and then you can duck into a movie theater and just watch Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers or something, or, you know, some charming thing for an hour and a half, and you forget about the horrors of the world, and then you're refreshed. It's like sitting down and on a big hot day after a long walk and having a lemonade for a while, and then you get up and you feel better. Well, you walk out of the movie house and you feel refreshed, and you go out and you meet the world, and you can take its horrors, you know, a little bit, you're a little stronger for having done that. With films like 8.5 or The Bicycle Thief, you have a different experience. It's more confrontational, and it's not as uplifting in a escapist way, but it's uplifting in a kind of emotional and intellectual way, so that when you leave the theater, you still are experiencing something positive inside you. And you know, what you don't want is to make a serious film that just sends you out of the theater depressed. And of course, all the great ones didn't do that. I mean, if you look at some of those Chekhov plays, which are quite sad, you don't feel sad afterward. Whereas if a lesser talented person does it, lesser talented than, let's say, Bergman or Chekhov or Fellini or whatever, Desika, you feel just depressed. You sat there for an hour and a half, you've seen a sad story, and you walk out with a downer feeling, and that's because the artist was not gifted enough or failed to give you a confrontational story or sad and human emotional story that didn't end happily, but nevertheless something did occur in you that gave you a morally uplifting feeling.
What's a perfect day for Woody Allen?
I'd like to get up in the morning. I wake the kids up, get them off to school, get onto my treadmill, do it, get over to work. You know, sit on my bed and work, have lunch, then take a break, practice the clarinet, go for a walk with my wife, come back, work, watch a basketball game at night. You know, pretty much, I mean, that's fine for me. I could do that most of the time, and you know, after you reach a certain age, I don't mean an old age, I'm talking about you know, in your early 30s or something, you realize that the absence of strife and pain is a good day. You know, you're not looking for the day with blasting fireworks where you have epiphany experiences that are full of faster music and madder music and you know, faster music and madder wine, or whatever the expression is. Like, you know, you're happy just you know, not to be, you know, crushed under the wheels of a truck.
Are we ever going to see Woody Allen making a film down under?
That I don't know. To me, the biggest obstacle to that is the length of time in the airplane to get there. You know, I'm sure once there, I would, because everyone tells me that I would love Australia and that it's delightful and that it's the cities are, you know, highly cosmopolitan and lovely and sophisticated, and they're exactly my kind of cities. But you know, the thought of getting on an airplane and remaining in a closed tube for that many hours is a hard obstacle for me to get around.
Woody Allen, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. The film is You Will Meet a Tall Dark Stranger. It's been a great pleasure, great honour to talk to Mr. Woody Allen.
And thanks very much.
Oh, sorry.
Steve Vizard, Melbourne's own 3AW.
Yes. Right. Thank you, Steve. Sorry to talk over you there. That was a most interesting interview. And Woody Allen's, I think he turned something like 78 just recently. Yeah. So, and still working and still getting on the treadmill, which is interesting too.
And still as lively as ever, as we've just heard.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve, who's... okay, fine.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
It's all right.
Sorry, his moo just got caught in the door. Kaftan, sorry.
Sorry, Kaftan, yeah. Now...